What's up, y'all? Welcome to a part 2 of the All Time No Cap podcast of episode 4. I believe if you're new and you have not seen part 1, I recommend go back and see part 1. You will still be able to understand it, but we got new people this time. But if you're new, my name is Emmanuel, and today we got two new special guests to the podcast, and we have.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry guys, I'm new to this whole Zoom technology. My name is Michelle. How are you?
And we have another one, which he's cooking.
Louis.
What's good, everybody? My name is Louis. How you guys doing?
Yup, so we got two new special guests for this part 2. It's last minute thing, but we are gonna touch back on faith and things with the younger generation. Sorry for the noise, y'all. I am in a public place, but we are gonna touch back on faith and the young generation. So make sure you grab your popcorn, sit, relax, and enjoy. And let's get back to the topic. So we were talking about faith, like I said, and how we if we've never seen Jesus, right? But we know he's been good to us. We know that he exists because everything just makes sense, if you really just add up to it. Just like our lives, God's gonna be good to us. And if we never seen him, but we believe in him, like our faith, like also said, like, why are you doubting yourself for certain things? If God has done good things for y'all, for you, yeah, y'all, you know what I'm saying? And we never even seen them. Like even your friends, bro, you seen them, but they ain't even good friends to y'all, right? But for somebody that you've never seen yet, it's been real to y'all. It's really.
He's so cute.
Oh, you want to go? Anyways, it's amazing, And we were talking about also relationships, friendships, all that, and like men that have to step up. Even if we're gonna touch on women, however we flow, you know what I'm saying. But one thing like we were talking about, even though I'm not a man yet, like I think males, let's just say males, have to step up on their part, especially as Christians. You know, I don't know, like if y'all saw, like if you seen with Miguel and Jose that was here before, how it was explaining stuff, because they're more older and they're matured up. They're mature enough, right? Because they're in the 20s already, and so I think men really need to step up, like even as young people, because young teenagers, right? We're still learning. A lot of people fall into temptation. We fall into temptation here and there sometimes. So it's hard for let me tell you, like this past week, I don't know, there's a new trend on TikTok, like about just masturbating, all that stuff and like even though there's been a whole bunch of, there's always been junk on TikTok, but my For You page is Christian TikTok, but for some reason that filled up my For You page this week. And I was just like thinking, dang. And especially the sad part is that used to be, when you think about how that used to be you, and then you see other people do it, it affects you badly. And we really need to step up as young people, because why? This generation, it's on a whole different weird level. People believe in this evil lie. People believe in like crystals, all these other things. And they believe in things that have been created by the creator. Yeah. Things that have been created by the creator. They believe in things that have been created by the creator. You know what I'm saying? And it's really like sad, because the devil is really getting them because they're not matured. They didn't mature up. Even people who are mature, the devil just, like, I'm telling you, I'm gonna say this: COVID has been good in two ways. It has been good and bad. One, it helped us to getting ourselves together. And the bad thing is, since we were stuck on social media, people started to see things. The devil started to really do a lot. There was no church. That's why we have less churches now, because COVID changed everything. It's either for a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not saying COVID is from God, but it helped people refresh or either just go on a whole nother level of just like craziness, and this I know we're in the end times. And it's crazy to believe that we're actually in the end times. Like all these prophecies in the Bible are, we see them, and people don't want to believe all that because they're grown up, or that's just their mindset. Like, for example, I heard this from like a sermon, maybe last week, like the people in Egypt. No, it's from Bible study. The people in Egypt, when they got out of slavery, they still got that slavery mindset. So when God's blessing them,
Yeah.
they still in that slavery mindset. That's why they didn't make it to the promised land.
Wow.
They're so used to a slave mindset because that's just how they grew up. Oh, that's how it was for what 400 years, right? So just imagine generation to generation, that's how they live and they born, they work for Egypt. So now they're out of this, still like, what is all this new stuff? But they're still in that slave thinking, and that's other people are there in that demonic thinking. So when something is introduced to them or they see all these things, they're like, yeah, no, it's not true, or no, this is nonsense or whatever. And that's I believe, I don't know, I haven't heard all that testimonies, but they could be in one part where that's how we thought a certain way. So something either made us not want to believe, or something just kind of just kept us stuck because we're just stuck in that mentality, which is very hard, even in like relationships. I also noticed, like, I think it was in either Mike Todd, when when you last have another person, or a relationship, right? Then you break up with them, and then you get another person, break up with them, and they will say, when you get married, when you get in a bad situation, what is your mindset? Divorce with them, because that's just how you grew up. So for y'all, because I say, none of us are perfect. So as a couple, as a Christian couple, if y'all get into situations, how do y'all handle it? Which I know one that will be prayer, but like, if y'all want to get into detail a little bit.
Yeah. For me, Miguel is more of like I'm gonna see this through type of person innately. It's very hard for him to give up on people. It's very hard for him to walk away from people because that's just the way that he loves. He loves very deeply. I think he had the privilege of seeing his mother and father duke it out regardless. For me, I grew up without my mom and without my dad. I grew up with my grandmothers raised me. So I didn't have that example of love, and I didn't have the presence of God in my life. So for me now in this relationship and knowing the Lord now, I just give an exuberant amount of grace for him to make mistakes, for myself to make mistakes, and then for us to collectively come together and find this like balance in God and in what he's done for me, which is give me patience, love, understanding, unconditional, and try to mirror that as much as possible. There's a thin line between being human and making mistakes and being toxic. So I think just figuring that out, like, what is that person in your life? Or is it love? Is it because you have genuine love for them, or are they just toxic and hindering you and stopping you from evolving and becoming a better person? So he isn't any of those things. So I just have a lot of grace. Yeah, a lot of grace and prayer and just allowing the Holy Spirit to move my mind and heart towards a situation, to soften it as much as possible.
Yeah. Sometimes you just need like a reset.
Yeah.
So I feel like we do that often. If we'll catch ourselves in a situation or catch ourselves like bickering over stuff that isn't important, we'll just one of us has to call for a reset. I'll keep talking. Yeah, we just call for a reset and then and kind of just like reflect on where we're at and where we want to go.
Well, they're adults here now, so y'all can understand this more than anyone. Yes. But yeah, he's just so wise. Like, I'm just so amazed that he's 14. Like the things that he just touched on and said that came out of his mouth is like deep.
Oh, Emmanuel? Yeah.
Deep, and it's provocative thought, like thinking wise, and it's great. It's great.
Yeah, it's beautiful to see that, especially in the generation, because everyone who's young right now is like completely lost into their phones.
They're not even thinking about this,
No.
And even like compartmentalize things. Like it's crazy.
I think it has to do a lot with him living there too.
Yeah.
Like he's fed constantly,
There's like a hunger.
So he
bad. I came back with the whole time.
You're supposed to be leading the podcast. You're not even in there.
I had to get some water.
You gotta keep it next to you.
Yeah.
But
They were saying good things about you.
guess I'm gonna summarize.
We were saying how wise you are to be 14. You don't even sound 14.
Well, my birthday's next month, but that's besides the point. But last thing I heard from somebody was, parents, and for me, like, I didn't really grow up with a dad. I did, but I did at the same time, if y'all can understand. But then things got worse, and it just kept getting worse and worse, parent stuff. Then to hear from my dad for a while, and then like years later, he found me. I mean, like called me or whatever. I was like, oh, okay. But like I had hatred for my dad because like, see, I don't want to say too much, but like when I was younger, when I saw things, I didn't really understand. So I just go to my room and do whatever. Till one day I just started really thinking because I got older and I understood that like what was really going on. And I had like a whole bunch of hatred for my dad or whatever. Like for years, I even told my mom I would like cuss about my dad to my mom or whatever. That's how bad it got. And then one day I was at church, and then somebody was like, probably had me talking about like, like he was explaining how I felt about my dad or whatever, and how I felt in my life. And then like he said that God is my father. And ever since that day,
Amen.
that changed a whole bunch of things. So if anybody, I think it's common now, at least in the US, I think that that there's kids that are fatherless and the mother is doing both sides, which I'm really thankful for mothers. But I believe like if we just keep doing our part as Christians, and if we're young believers, the older we get, and if we share the gospel to people, and like it's gonna be less common if we just really step up and do what's right.
I think it also has to do, sorry, I think it also has to do a lot with staying away from sexual sin. Because if it wasn't for sex, there wouldn't be abortions, there wouldn't be fatherless children, there wouldn't be STDs, there wouldn't be so many things that happen outside of the marriage covenant. So I think that has to do a lot with it. And if we were to shift that area of our lives, we would be able to see less of these problems that create traumas, create addictions, create resentment, create hurt, create sadness, and these things carry on into adulthood. Then they carry on into relationships, and all of a sudden your kids are born with these issues as well, all because that parent was having sex outside of marriage, was left by the baby daddy, and that created a whole generational curse. So I think sexual sin has a lot to do with that.
I would say is what we were talking about, Emmanuel, talking about, you guys were talking about how wise he is. In the Bible, and I was just bringing it up, and I was just reading it the other day, the wisdom and knowledge is different in the regular world, in the fleshly world. Emmanuel's been walking in an area where there's mentors, teachers, people to develop him at such a wise age, is that when we become born again, and we become connected with Christ, we start back over, and we have to get back and get rid of all the junk we put inside ourselves, and also see what the Lord has put inside us to be able to walk forward to our calling. Yeah. So when you are filled, and it talks about it was James 3:13-18. If you're wise and understand God's ways, prove it by living an honorable life. He's learning the steps of an honorable life from the get-go before he goes into the sin. So a lot of people, and a lot of people go into this world learning about sin. They don't have mentors. They don't have people developing them. Just like us, we may have learned about Christ, but nobody mentored us about Christ. They mentored us about, hey, God's in the world. Become a believer. Hey, I'm a believer. I'm a Christian. And they've never read the Bible. They never read a word from the Bible. They could read off one verse, but they're not walking the path. There's nobody that they could point to and be like, this person's teaching me. And it's just like, it's so important for us to see what's going on in the world and also be that example of a person and a mentor to other people to help them. So I think on top of that now is we want to help people. And one of the things I think we were talking about was how can we help the people we love? And one of the biggest things, before you can help the people you love, you must help yourself.
Yes.
So how are you going to help the people you love if you're walking maimed with one leg and one arm and stuck in all this sin and you want to help someone, just like it says in the Bible? If you have something, if you got a stick in your eye and you're talking about someone else's table in their eye, how are you going to talk?
Wow.
And a lot of people are walking and they've never been in an anointed church. They never been walking the path for so long. All they know is what they know. And that's why there's so many parts to walking in the truth. And it comes from God. And I'm going to finish this verse. Doing works of humility and comes from wisdom. So doing good works with humility, that comes from wisdom. But if you are bitter, jealous, and there's selfless ambition in your heart, don't cover the truth with boasting and lying. And that's what happens when we're living in the regular world. When we're living in the world, we're looking to be the best around. We're trying to be better than our friends. We're trying to make all this money to be so we could be worth something to someone else. Or we're looking at this girl, we're like, damn, that girl looks good. And they're like, oh, what can I do to get her? I want to go buy drinks. I want to do this. I'm going to get in good shape. And it's all about lying, boasting yourself to try to cover up what's really hurting inside, trying to cover up that you're missing a mother by trying to get a girlfriend, or you're missing that father and you're trying to find a boyfriend. And there's so many things. For jealousy and selfishness are not God's kind of wisdom. The world is living in such jealousy and selfishness. That's what the whole world's about. I used to be a drug dealer for 12 years, and I was all about the money. I was all about partying. I was all about, you know what? I got more than everybody else. What are they going to teach me? I'm living an easier life. What are they going to teach me? But there was something missing. I was missing that fruits of the Spirit. I was missing that Holy Spirit love to guide me. Because at the end of the day, when you are living in the flesh, you are guiding yourself, and you are God. Such things earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. Dude, when you're living in the regular world, you think everything's spiritual. Oh, this is spiritual. That's spiritual. Oh my God, tarot cards, astrology, and we're going in there. Oh my God, stones, you were so lucky. And we're like, dude, everything is twisted in the world. Everything that people are seeing what's spiritual, they don't even realize that everything has been twisted by the devil. Where meditation, for example, people are doing meditation and they don't realize, oh, I'm blanking out my head. They don't realize they're opening gates to the demonic. And they don't realize that meditation, they're like, everybody tells them meditate to your third eye. Well, that's so demonic. It's like, it's actually meditate to Jesus, meditate on his word, and then encounters with God. Or whatever there is, jealousy and self-ambition, there you will find disorder and evil in every kind of way, like we've been seeing. But the wise from above is first of all pure. It is also peace, love, gentle at all times, willing to yield to others, is full of mercy and the fruits of good deeds. Like, when I see Emmanuel, you can see the good deeds he's walking. You can see what he's trying to do. And what? He's 14 years old. A number doesn't matter. A number doesn't really matter when you get up. Well, he was saying, oh, I'm not an adult. To be honest, Emmanuel, you're more than an adult than 90%
Than the real adults
of the world, because they don't even know how to live. They don't even know how to treat a woman. They don't know how to treat another human being. They're walking around as hurt people, treating people, and they don't know how to show it. It shows no favoritism, and it is always sincere. And those who are peacemakers will plant seeds of peace and reap harvest of righteousness. Man, that's what he's doing. He's planting, making a podcast to plant seeds so that people who are younger than him, or people who are walking in the same age as him, are seeing something different than the world. So you're living the godly walk, and this is what it is. Doesn't matter where you come, but it's our job to show and even grow to where we can help others. But I would say, from my own walk, first, look at yourself. Second, look who you're around. And third, where are you getting your information from? because a lot of times you could be in a circle, and if you're the smartest one in the circle, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Only communication you're having with God is the Bible, and you're not in a community or fellowship. That's a problem to a point. And I don't think that's bad in a halfway point. But like if you're in the beginning of your walk and the only walk and only understanding of the Bible you got was because of your own understanding of the Bible, and now you're becoming Pharisee and you're becoming law, you're missing the whole point of the walk too. Because now you are gaining understanding of your own way of being your own God without having to of it. So there's so much to dive deep into this. Sorry if I talk too long.
Preach it,
No,
Louis.
no. It's okay. I mean, now right there.
Touched all the topics we were touching on earlier.
That's so rich.
I was about to touch on something like when he said twisting, bro, this past month. So wait, who's watch Eternals? You have any watch Eternals?
No.
So yeah, you watch Eternals. So I went to go see it, and it was really if you really understand Marvel, that's like the beginning of Marvel. That's like the head. But like what I've noticed, like the mission they had, because we all came here for a mission. Like God and creators just, let me just make a world, and I'm finna have some people in here just for fun. We are called to do something, and even though, I mean, God knew everything from the jump. He doesn't need no plan B. He knew Adam was going to eat the fruit. I don't know what fruit it is. People say it's the apple. I don't like to say apple because I don't know what it is. But, but anyways, I was watching the movie. After the movie, I was like, they twisting the Bible or something like that. Like they're not talking about the Bible. I don't know if you notice anything like that, Miguel, but like they were twisting some stuff. Like you could tell. I mean, it wasn't about the Bible, but if you know the Bible or if you know some stuff of the Bible, there was stuff popping up in my head. Like, hold on, like that's something else. Like it's like twisting something from the Bible. And that's how the world is today. Like I said, I don't know if I said it in this video or this one or in the last one, where like the devil like took like he be switching stuff up. That's why he be saying like they be doing all these stuff, they believe in all these other stuff, but Jesus, because this is how the devil was just twisting everybody's mind. And we're in the end times. The devil knows that he's about to come to an end. So what is he gonna do? He wants people to fall in the trap with him. So then when it's time for him to go, they're going with him and they're gonna suffer forever. You know what I'm saying? And so he just wants to get everybody to just fall. And we all fall. You know what I'm saying? We all mess up, even as Christians. We can fall to temptations, we might not. We can sin, we might not. We sin about every day, we all can mess up. But you're humans, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't stop what we're doing. But I really did enjoy. I like what you said right there, for real. Like actually,
Yeah.
I like, and it's crazy. So that came up in mind when Michelle was lifting. Like, a lot of things. Like as young people, we should be working on spiritually. You know what I'm saying? Like one day I was in the weight room. I was just lifting. I was listening to something, and all of a sudden, what came up in mind? How come I'm working out physically, but I'm not working out spiritually or whatever? And like that's one thing that like really gets me now, because I started going to the gym more. So that's what comes up in my more. So like we may all, slip, forget to read the Bible, but that shouldn't stop us. If we forget if we forget leg day, we're gonna hop back and do it again because we missed it. We're gonna do it. Exactly, so it's the same as spiritual. The devil wants to make us, oh, you forgot to read your Bible. Oh, you just listen to Lil Durk. All this blah 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 blah. But that doesn't mean don't stop what you're doing. That just means keep going. And you may see a whole bunch of famous preachers out there and like, oh, they're perfect. They be sinning too. The people that you be watching, they be sinning too. It doesn't matter, but that's one thing that we need to be careful of, especially company. That's what I like. Like company, it's what a whole lot of things. I was hanging around lustful people, so I became lustful when I was younger. But when COVID came, this was shut because I'm around literally now. I can't go to school, so it changed everything, which I'm thankful for. But like that was powerful for sure. Anybody else got anything they want to tap on that though?
Well, I was gonna say how you talking about twisting. That's something new that we were talking about because like I feel like every other philosophy out there in the world is literally they take the truth that like God's truth and then they just remove
They
parts.
counterfeit it.
Yeah, or they add parts to it, but everything's rooted. So like even stories and movies you watch, like we'll watch them and you'll be like, that kind of seems like something that is in the Bible, and it's true because we can't, as humans, we can't create anything outside of what God's already created. So like even stories like that's just modified. They just remove things or they add things or they change names or like something like Eternals, like the creation of the world, like they'll just modify it, but they all like take it from God's truth and then they just perverse it and they twist it. And that's how they get people because it sounds like truth. It may seem like truth, but it's not the actual truth.
It's crazy, but we just gotta keep doing our thing, do everything until he comes back, and then we're gonna be lifted up and we're not gonna be left behind and go through all that tribulation. That is for a whole nother episode. We could talk about that another time. But if y'all enjoyed this podcast, I just want to say thank y'all for joining. And Jose, if you're watching this, thank you for joining on the part one. But y'all, before all of y'all go, and we have 6 minutes left. Can any of y'all at least do like a 1 minute encouragement to the viewers?
What's it go for?
So I want to say that no matter what your mind is telling you, no matter what attacks are coming to you from the enemy, you have to trust the Lord in the walk, because there's going to be days where you fall into that anxious self, or you fall into not knowing what the future holds for you. But when you trust in the Lord and you worship and you praise him and you read the Bible and you meditate on the Bible, fill yourself with the word, there comes a supernatural strength that honestly, the peace surpasses all understanding. And I think that fasting and praying has definitely changed my life. And I think that I wouldn't be the same if it wasn't for that as well, because it brings so many spiritual breakthroughs. So I want to encourage you guys to take a 1-day fast, 2-day fast, 3-day fast, whatever you can handle, but sacrifice yourself, humble yourself to the Lord, and you will see that breakthrough happen. Whether it is the anger you have in your heart, whether it is the resentment that you have in your heart, that sadness that you have in your heart, those thoughts that keep lingering around that won't shut up. You have to take the word and use it as your whole armor. Also, another important thing is putting on the whole armor of God. Ephesians 6:11-18, I believe, it talks about the whole armor of God. And it's so important to put it on every single morning, because when we go out into the world, it's a spiritual warfare for our lives every single day. And so if we don't put on that armor, the enemy attacks us this quick. And sometimes we fall into the temptation of, listening to his voice instead of God's voice. So just stay faithful, walk in faith, walk in power, walk in God's power, and trust the Lord with all your heart.
Amen. Who's next? And we have 4 minutes left, by the way.
The only thing I want to add to it, that was really good, Michelle. But the only thing I want to add to that, helping me in my season right now, is to dig deeper into God's character. So I feel like a lot of times we have a hard time like showing forgiveness, grace, mercy to ourselves and to others because we lack to fully comprehend like how God is exactly that. And I feel like the more I learn about who truly God is, like his characteristics, it's easier for me to reflect those, or easier for me to accept them in my own life. To know like even though I may not be perfect, there's still grace for a new day. Even though I feel called to something, a mistake is not gonna pull me away from that. Or somebody does something to me, I'm able to find the ability to show that person, either grace, mercy, forgiveness, or encouragement, because that's all the things that God is. So that's something. Just dig deep into like really learning God's character, and not just seeing him as like this faraway being, but like someone personal who has characteristics.
Beautiful.
Amen.
Amen.
I'll say something. I'll say, look, from people, there's one thing I've seen since I've been walking, and one thing I can talk to a lot of people. Do you hear God's voice? And a lot of people, I'll talk to them. Oh, I think I hear him. I'm just letting God guide my way. You're letting God guide your way, but you don't even know his voice. So I challenge you. If you don't know what God's voice sounds like, you need to go dive deeper. You need to take a month and go find it. You got to understand a good idea compared to God's worst idea is far multiplied 10 times better than that best idea you got. So you need to know what God's voice sounds like, especially if you're going to walk, because you need to know what his calling for your life is. You need to know the gifts he's put inside you. You need to know where you need to go. And God is the only one who could guide you because he knows the only person who knows your future. So if you haven't heard God's voice and you don't know God's voice, like Michelle said, I encourage you to fast. And if you never fasted before, start with 16 hours. Then a day later, start with 24 hours. Then next time, start with 36 and move your way up to a 3-day fast. And it's so important. And are you reading the word every day? Because if you miss a day reading the word, it's like trying to go a day without eating. That is your spiritual food every day. Now, second, are you praying? Now, when you pray, I know a lot of people tell me they pray, but do you ask the Lord, hey, your servant is listening, and you sit there and wait? People just, yeah. They never sit there and wait.
Yeah.
And there's so many other ways to hear the Lord. You need to figure that out before you do the next thing. Because if you can't hear God's voice, everything else is a waste to a point. It's not, but it's not important because now you're playing a guessing game to what the Lord is bringing you to and where you're supposed to go, because you're just assuming this is supposed to happen when the devil can make things feel like it's God. And it's not.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, highlight of the podcast.
That's so good.
Yes.
So good. And my encouragement would be to just not compromise anything. Don't compromise anything for the Lord. If there's something that God has been reiterating to me, is compromising for him is not worth it. Compromising anything that's getting in the way of your calling or your purpose or what God has put on your heart to do in this season, the assignment, the people that you are called to right now. If it's getting in the way of that, it's not worth it. So just keep your eyes on the Lord and
Yeah, so wow, thank y'all very much. Hope y'all took
We
something
love
from
you.
that. Love you too. And thanks for joining all of y'all. I'll be posting another
Y'all subscribe.
Turn your post notifications on, and we will be
Yes.
back. Or I'll be back with another video. Y'all will see them again sometime later. I will be on YouTube today. This weekend's vlog's gonna be lit, so y'all better check it out. But anyways, I'll catch y'all up another one. All
Bye,
right,
guys. Love you.